Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 12 and we want to explain about our material. My name is Salsabila and I want to explain about grammatical categories of English and Bahasa Indonesia. There are 3 categories in grammatical. The first is categories of person, and then categories of tense and categories of voice. The first category is category of person. This category relates to the notion of participant roles, English as the source language. There are 3 types of pronouns in English and 1 type pronouns in Bahasa Indonesia. And then the second is category of tense. The word tense stands for a verb, form, or series of verb form used to express a time relation. There are 12 tenses in English like simple present tense, past tense, and etc. But in Bahasa Indonesia, sudah or setelah to express idea of past tense, sedang to indicate present tense, and the word akan is for future tense. And then the last is category of voice. Frank states that voice in English grammar refers to active and passive use of a verb. But in Bahasa Indonesia, there are 4 types of passive sentence as quoted by Dario Wijoyo. Those are di, ter, ke, and an. And then the last is the passive sentences formed by the use of ke, an, meaning di plus verb.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Desina Vitasari. I will explain about grammatical equivalence and semantic equivalence. Due to Becker 1992, there are 5 levels of equivalence, namely the first, equivalence at word level, the second, equivalence above word level, the third, grammatical equivalence, and the fourth, textual equivalence, and the last, pragmatic equivalence. Equivalence means that the original text and translate text are in a one-to-one correspondence. Non-equivalence means that the target language has no direct equivalence for a word or parse in the source language. The common types of non-equivalence as follow. Culture-specific concept, when the source language word may express a concept which is totally unknown in the target culture. The source language concept is not lexically in the target language. The source language word is semantically complex. The source and target language make different distinction in meaning. The target language lacks a superordinate. The target language lacks specific term. In difference in expressive meaning. Difference from there is often no equivalence in the target language of a particular form in the source text. A. Grammatical equivalence. Grammatical equivalence refers to the diversity of grammatical categories across language. Becker 1992 notes that grammatical rules may vary across language, and this may pose some problem in the terms of finding a direct correspondence in the target language, which latter may induce the translator either to add or to omit information in the target language because of the lack of particular grammatical deficit in the target language itself, include the first, number. The idea of countability is probably universal in the sense that it is readily accessible to all human beings and is expressed in the lexical structure of all language. The second, gender. Gender is grammatical distinction according to which a noun or pronoun is classified as either masculine or feminine in some language. The third, person. The category of person relates to the notion of participant role. The fourth, tense or aspect. Tense or aspect are grammatical categories in a large number of languages. The last, voice. A voice, a grammatical category which defines the relationship between a verb and its subject.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aulia Rizka Amelia. Here I want to tell you about analysis on the category of person. The result of the analysis on the person category found in the 8 books has shown that most of the English pronouns with person reference are translated or expressed by the personal pronouns of Bahasa Indonesia. Some pronouns, around 11.11%, are not translated by the personal pronouns in Bahasa Indonesia since their meaning are considered noun from their context, and some others are not translated by using the personal pronouns but rather by repeating the nouns reference mainly when these pronouns are used to refer to the non-personal or impersonal noun. The following are some examples of the not translated English personal pronouns and the use of noun repetition in translating the English personal pronouns. First, the speaking child in our story availed herself of just such an arrangement. The meaning is, Jill yang berbicara dalam kisah itu memanfaatkan upaya seperti itu. 2. It would not have been possible for grammarians to blow a large part of our speech community, and they would not have undertaken to do so if the public had not been ready for the deception. Tidak akan mungkin ahli-ahli gramatika mengelabui sebagian besar masyarakat bahasa kita dan tidak akan berusaha berbuat demikian. Of the 8 sample books found that the English present tense for intense are not always translated into present forms in Bahasa Indonesia. The examples are mostly found in the case of present perfect tense. There are also past tense which are not translated into past form in Bahasa Indonesia. After that, I will explain about analysis on the category of voice. Both English and Bahasa Indonesia have the category of voice, but they do not always use it in the same frequency. The analysis of the sample books has found the fact that English active clauses are not always translated or expressed in Bahasa Indonesia with active clause, and the English passive clause are not always translated into passive in Bahasa Indonesia. There are only a small number of active clauses which are not translated by using the active clause in Bahasa Indonesia, but rather by using the passive ones, or less than 5%. The result of the analysis have shown that the English active clause are mainly translated into passive clause in Bahasa Indonesia whenever the intransitive verb are used in the active clause, or when the emphasis of the clause are on the action rather than on the agent, or the doer over action. There are also some passive clause which are not translated by using the passive clause in Bahasa Indonesia, but rather by using the active ones, about 10%. This is done mostly by making an inversion of the objector by replacing the subject with the inclusive first personal plural from Bahasa Indonesia kita. This replacement of the subject, however, may result in the distortion of meaning since the emphasis of the clauses is no longer on the event but rather on the agent of the action. Okay, I think that's all about the analysis of category, and the next material will explain by my friend. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Semantic equivalence is an advanced translation equivalence. Semantic is the meaning of language, words, and sentence. Semantic is from words equivalence until equivalence terminates and it's throughout the whole process translation. For example, the feeling which the author conveys and touches which the feelings bring to readers can make the readers of the two languages. A piece of music can bring people of different countries the same feelings without borders. Semantic equivalence is to make language produce this kind of feelings without borders. So many factors need to be taken into consideration. Specifically, the associated factors of semantic equivalence mainly include the following several aspects, and the historical cultural differences make people have big differences in the understanding of things. Custom and habits make it hard for us to understand each other's language, which is an important factor of semantic equivalence. And there are connotations of the two languages. Religious belief in an important spiritual pillar of every country which profoundly affect people.